have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker, who you are probably familiar with, Dr. Anna Hielm-Björkman. And she's going to be giving a talk talking about, let's talk about a disease. We think it's a symptom. Please, Anna.
Thank you. So, yes, this was something that when we've been looking at our data, you know, for a long time already, we put the, actually we have Millie here sitting in the audience. Say hello to everybody, Millie. Millie was actually the one who started with me doing a paper questionnaire about this questionnaire data in early 2000, very early 2000. And then we got really inspired because we could see that we actually got 2,000 answers, I think, and about 500 of them her little brother was putting very nicely into an Excel sheet for us. And then we started doing statistics, and we actually got 3 licentiate theses out of that first kind of data coming out. No, actually just yours, and then a bit later 2 more. So what we could see was that there was a big correlation between food and diseases. And I think that everybody of us who are veterinarians in the audience know that there is a kind of that you see some of the diseases always kind of coming together. And when you look in literature, there's actually quite little about these. And I've taken some inspiration as well from my friend Susan Wynn, who's going to talk after me as well, about looking at these kind of different diseases and symptoms and medical signs. And just for those who are not, I know that we have dog nutrition people here, and we have just dog owners, and we have others. So I thought that I'll just go through these very quickly, like what are the differences between a symptom and a medical sign. Well, actually, how we use them in our normal language, they are more or less just used in the same way. But when looking into a kind of a definition of them, they think that, or they say that medical signs are more objectively observable. So there are things that you can kind of they're very visible, you can measure them, you can say how big they are, you can measure their color, their temperature, things like this. So these are like medical signs. Whereas then symptoms are something more diffuse, and it's more kind of an idea of what people feel, or what probably also dogs feel. So they're more experienced symptoms, and otherwise more or less. Okay.
We're going to share the screen on Zoom.
Ah, nice. That's good too. It's there. Just press it, the green one, and then it should be that one. And share. Okay, like we're getting there. And then from current slide. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, and now if we get this also actually recorded, this will be totally not possible, but we're trying. Okay, so then we come to the next one. So what is a disease? Well, a disease is also, okay, yeah, maybe you want to have that a bit smaller. Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. You can hide the top. Okay, I need somebody who can do that. I can't. Super. What would we do without young men? it's
I believe if you press that arrow here. Oh, nope.
well, maybe it's better that it's there. Huh?
Wait. Maybe I'm not that young anymore.
Yeah.
I just
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to talk about these diseases. So, yeah, I don't know really where it's better up or down, but it's going to be somewhere, I guess. We can figure that out on the next break, maybe. So, a disease is something, a condition that impairs something, does something bad to the body, and actually, when I think about what we are kind of looking at when I think about disease, it is very much like it goes out of the body's normal homeostatic kind of normality. And I think that a lot of the diseases that we're talking about nowadays is or in our group, is that we see that a lot of them are kind of metabolic, which means just that it's something in your metabolism, something about your metabolic pathways that are happening in the body, and some of them are kind of out of line. And before, or we can say that the most important diseases before was maybe infectious diseases, whereas nowadays you have the non-infectious diseases, which are all these metabolic diseases, which are the ones that in our group that we're interested in. It is, of course, like in pathogens from raw food, for example, then we come into infectious diseases again. And what we've shown in our previous seminars is that is actually a very, very small chance of having those infections. So we're going to keep on talking about these non-infectious diseases instead. Okay, but now it actually does not want, oops. Well, maybe I can jump to that one. So then Susan actually was talking a lot about the allergic or the atopy march. And this gave me the idea of presenting this, what we've been looking at in this way. So the allergic march is something which is kind of a new concept in allergy and atopy on humans, or a new name for it. We've always known that actually it often starts with atopy when they're very, very small. They have food allergies or food intolerances. And so we take away egg and fish and milk and this and that from the children and try to kind of get their atopy to stop. And then usually if it gets really bad, it gets like this baby here. And you have typical places where it is going to be in different ages. And when we get into adulthood, it's usually just you have them here on the dorsal hands, on your dorsal foot, and kind of in your knees and elbow crests. But what also happens also in adulthood is that this atopy or allergic march goes into being asthma or rhinitis. So they start being really like snuffly when they're about 3, 5, 6 years old. And then as adults, they might have asthma. And we see this as a continuum in humans. Oops. Oh. And now, during the last year, there's been a lot of written papers on the human side on this, on that is kind of atopy? Is it the egg or the hen? And does the eczema come first and then it goes into allergy? Or is asthma always something that comes after allergic kind of childhood symptoms? And then we, of course, started to think that is it possible that this also is something that then actually happens in dogs? Oops. I can't. I'll need your help with this, Robin, now, because I can't get this to work. Please. Up. I need everything back. And I need some way to press the button so that it's up there. To that. Yeah. So.
You can use this. You should be able. Oh, it's not plugged in.
That's it.
There we go.
Men. Love it. I'm sorry. I guess there would be a lot of women here around who could do this as well. But in our group, Robin is the IT guru. So we wanted to know that does this kind of allergic march also exist in dogs? So we have the data for it, and we also have the kind of knowledge that it actually does exist. Everybody who has a dog knows that it's something that starts and then it gets just worse and worse, and you get more and more signs that come with it. And the thing is that we should write an article on it, so that's why we started looking at it. So here there is the data that we're looking at. So there's as many females and males. There's different ages, very little, very old ones though, and mostly of them are really young in that atopic year, kind of for the dogs, the 3 first year is usually when atopy comes around. And what we did was, I had help from both Manal, who is doing the basic things that we'll look in a second, and Christina Vuori, who is online, who is doing this for me. So this is a principal component analysis. And here you can see the diseases here to the right from RC8, which is one of the components, the first one that comes here. And we can see that there are some diseases, the ones that are here in white, that you will see that they are kind of have high numbers, and then there's a lot of very kind of low numbers. So the ones that have high numbers, they are the ones that we've put here to the right. So you can see that these diseases, they kind of come together. So they're not the allergic atopic march, these ones, but this is very interesting for us to see that actually hypothyroidism, lipoma, cancer, epilepsy, heart disease, and tartar, they actually have something in common because they come to the same dogs, the same individuals will actually get these ones. This is very interesting for us who are also working with the sniffer dogs, because actually we've seen that the sniffer dogs have a hard time distinguishing hypothyroidism and cancer, breast cancer in women. So also it has the same smell. So there is actually something very, very close to each other. We don't want to make all women afraid here who has hypothyroidism, but maybe starting eating kelp would be a good thing to do before you end up getting cancer. Then also RC1 is the next one. So here again we see skeletal diseases that come together. And then the next one is the one that we were kind of interested about this time, oops, which is the RC3. So here we have otitis, skin infections, furunculosis, atopy, and then these both chronic gastrointestinal diseases and IBD. So we call them chronic enteropathies in one of our articles as well, if you want to. And then the urinary infection, incontinence, and stones are also coming together. So we can see that these diagnoses actually are part of the same symptom. And then, of course, the next question is that what or which of these different diseases come up first? And so here I've put in red the ones that we're interested in, and then we took the age of onset from, which also was a question in our questionnaire. This is, of course, now the owner responding, but you can see that the first one that comes up is actually these chronic enteropathies. So when we're talking about allergic atopy diseases, they actually do come from the gut. The next one that comes up is also other intestinal problems or diseases, is the second one that comes up. And here you will see kind of the mean age, 1.5 years, 1.86 years. So here you start, these diseases in these dogs start with gastrointestinal diseases. Then you will have allergies, atopy, skin symptoms. You will have these ear infections. You'll have skin infections like rash, hot spots, other ones. So that's more the inflammation of those atopies starting to be very chronic already. And then as the last one, furunculosis, which is the interdigital. So personally, I thought it was so cool that we could actually show that all of these kind of allergies and things, that most of them actually do come from the food and the gut. So that was very interesting. Then also we were looking at prevalence of these diseases. And then if we look at the same diseases again, maybe one more. Yes. So you can see that the most uncommon in this very young population that we had was furunculosis, which makes sense because it's the one that comes last. And since we had a quite mean young age, and most of 75% of the dogs were under 3 years of age here. So you can see that that's something that comes later. But otherwise, also, you have a lot of them showing these ear infections and different type of skin diseases, whereas I think that it's maybe not as usual that people if a dog has diarrhea every once in a while, or if it farts a lot, or if it just is a bit mushy, if it's maybe eats sometimes less and sometimes more, things like that. People maybe don't go to the vet for that. And especially if you have a young dog under 3 years old, you might just think that that's kind of normal puppy behavior. So the most common of all the signs are ear infections. And this is, if you want, then ear infection is not a disease, it's a symptom of this syndrome. So here to the right, I want to show you all the kind of the diseases that do not reoccur. So you see the last column to the right, all of those diseases that you have there to the left, they're diseases that more or less come once. So like a fracture is not a recurrent disease. Heart disease, once you get it, you usually have it for the rest of your life. You're not going to be it's not going to become better and then you get it again. So these are, you can see actually from the data that what we have is very valid, because they all make sense. Whereas then when you come to these ones, which again then are for example, the skin diseases that I put down here. So these are now put so that the recurrence is the biggest down there and the smallest up. And so it's kind of growing with going down. And we can see that all of these skin diseases, ear diseases, all of these ones, that they're actually down in this down. You have to keep my time then also, and 1 minute. Okay, you should 5 minutes more. Okay, so then there's a lot of these other that we couldn't, like the red ones that I've put there is something that we can't use because we didn't have enough of. But what was really interesting in this one was that we also had a question that the owners could say, how much did it help with changing the diet? And isn't that nice? It means that actually owners really do know that when you have this syndrome or when you have these signs, that changing the diet is really good. And as I have to be really quick now. No, it's okay. So I'm going to, this is actually my last slide. So what Christina also did to me was that she was nice enough to look at what helped in these diets. And this is something, of course, that we already have published many papers on. But what you can see in these slides is that the more this blue thing here is to the right, it means that the more disease there is when they eat ultra-processed carbohydrate-dense foods. So the more you have kind of this mean going this way, it means that the more you have the dogs that are and you see it here as well. Whereas the ones that go mostly and have the mean here on the left side of the zero, that means that these dogs that are the most healthy, they are eating non-processed meat-based diets. So this was all made more or less yesterday and today and the day before yesterday with the help of Manal and Christina. So this is not anything that is ready for publication yet. But I thought, because I was so thrilled about this when we could kind of see it coming, so I just wanted to present that for you. So thank you. I can maybe take one question here when you are changing to the next talk.
Yes, thank you so much, Anna. We have a few minutes for questions, so we are going to try to use this microphone thing so that everybody can hear. And if anybody can pass this thing back to Susan back there, I'm going to throw it out.
Ooh.
It should be harmless. I'm not trying to take anyone out.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can. Anna, did any of your diagnoses in the FFQ include chronic bronchitis or something like chronic bronchitis? Or
we actually have lung diseases as one, and I think that the lung diseases also, it might be that they have kind of a drop-down box.
But you would know it if they clustered with the allergy.
Actually, it didn't cluster, no.
Okay.
No, it did not. And which is, actually, I'm not really sure, because I think actually it did. Because what I was thinking, I'll have to go in and back because I was thinking that, oh, that explains COPD in horses. So actually,
And match humans.
yes, yeah. And because, of course, you have asthma in humans and you have bronchitis. And so I do think it did, but I didn't think about it as something with dogs, but I was thinking about COPD in horses. Yeah.